likes eating steak? Okay, so keep your hands raised if you'd say you like humanity. Okay, so I'm here to tell you that that's actually not possible. You can't like humanity while still like eating cow's meat, and I'll tell you why. So you can't like humanity while at the same time liking the exact food that could eventually lead to the deaths of millions of people. And if our world continues on the track that it's currently on, could lead to the eventual extinction of our species. So I don't know about you, but personally, I don't want our species to go extinct. So that's why today I'll hopefully be able to persuade you to stop eating so much meat. So before I dive into these reasons why I think you should stop eating meat, I want to dispel any assumptions that some people may have already made. I'm not here to promote veganism or vegetarianism or any other morally based diet. Personally, I've actually never found anything wrong with eating animals, and many people would even argue that carnivorism is in our DNA as human beings. I don't want to change your outlook on eating meat. I want to change your outlook on indirectly killing innocent people due to your dietary habits. And I'll explain exactly what I mean by that. So as many of you know, global warming has become a rather prominent buzzword in today's society. We all know what it is, but not many of us truly know where it comes from and how much animal agriculture factors into it. So according to Robert Goodland, livestock and their byproducts currently account for at least 32 million tons of carbon dioxide pollution per year, which accounts for 51% of all worldwide greenhouse gas emissions. And this is all due to the raising and eating of livestock. Now, this may or may not seem like a large amount of carbon dioxide to some of you, but let's take a second and consider the effects that this pollution is having on the world. So, according to Dr. World Tuttle, we're currently in the largest mass extinction species in 65 million years. We continue to cause deforestation to make room for animal agriculture and continue to dump an enormous amount of animal waste as well as CO2 into our oceans each year. And believe it or not, overgrazing for livestock production is attributed to being the largest driving force behind this. Now, according to environmental activist Sarah Zielinski, she explains that this is causing the acidity of our oceans to rise and has been creating dead zones in our oceans around the world. And according to Dr. Richard Openlander, we could actually see fishless oceans by the year 2048. So I mentioned the path that we're on earlier in this speech. And so what exactly is this path that we're on? Well, 100 years ago, the amount of CO2 in Earth's atmosphere was around 200 parts per million. Today, that number has nearly doubled to around 400 parts per million. Now, this doubling of the carbon dioxide in our atmosphere has been rather harmless for the most part. In fact, 100 years ago today, our atmosphere was actually rather carbon poor. So a little bit of carbon addition has actually helped our planet out. So we're fine then, right? Well, unfortunately not. See, a healthy concentration of carbon in our atmosphere is anywhere from 400 to 600 parts per million. Now, as that number rises above 600 parts per million, we will start to see some problems. And as soon as that number reaches the 1,000 parts per million mark, that's when things start to go extremely bad. Now, although we're fine right now, we're currently continuing to dump carbon in the atmosphere at a rate much faster than we have in the past century. This means that if things continue to go the way they are, we will have reached the 600 parts per million limit of carbon in the atmosphere within the next 100 years. And if we do go over this limit, things will start to go seriously wrong around the world. So in conclusion, our eating habits are destroying our planet, and sooner than later will begin to drastically take a toll on our species. If we don't take care of our planet, it won't take care of us. Now, I know at this point in the semester, we've seen a lot of polls and raising of hands. So I want to conclude this speech with a simple question. 50 years from now, if the world continues on the path that it's on today, when your grandchildren ask you, "So did you know?" what will you say?